if you do any sort of reading about these first gen Colorado slash canyons, one of the things that a lot of people mention or talk about is how they have poor electrical in them, or you'll always fight with weird electrical demons and stuff like that. I can kind of contest to this because, like, for example, you know, the headlight adjustment switch, the lights will flicker on and off, and there fog lights seem to be intermittent on them, and among some other things. And so what we're doing today may not necessarily fix these weird electrical gremlins, but I'm hoping it may help alleviate some of them. So what we're doing, as you can see here, this is the battery in it. You can see it's got these crappy clamp connectors. The wires are just pinched down in them, both on the positive and negative. You know, it's got this little ground that goes down to the fender well. This is factory, but this little box here is a bunch of ground wires. So instead of the ground running to here, down onto there, I'm going to make the ground run come up over to here to hopefully give this a better chance. We are also doing a battery upgrade. As you can see here, this is a 7586 DT battery. That just stands for dual terminal, but generally just 7586 battery. We are upgrading that to a group 65. So what that will give us is this current battery that we have in the truck, you can see is only, I think, 780 or something like that cold cranking amps. This one here is going to give us a cold cranking of 850, so we get to up that. So we're going to get a bigger battery, better cold cranking amps, and a few other perks on that. So going to disconnect all this crap, pull the battery out. I was told that it's a direct fit. The tray may not work. We don't have the plastic box that covers this. It was gone. I've taken the snorkel off that was up here. That is basically like a cold air intake for the battery box. So I just like took that out. Cover was gone. I debated if I was going to recreate these these cables with some upgraded 4-gauge ones, but we got 2 cables that run out of here, 2 cables that run here. There's a cable down in here somewhere that runs the alternator and somewhere else. So these 4 wires just kind of run everywhere in this truck. So I'm just today going to upgrade to this type of connector. And then what I'll do is I'm going to use a bunch of various cable connectors that I have. And what I'll do is I'll take the 2 positives, I'll cut them back to nice clean copper wire, crimp those together. This one here, same thing, I'll cut it back, cut this back to give me some nice clean copper, and then I will crimp these 2 together so that they are a bonded pair, as well as these are a bonded pair, and then that will give me a nice new clean connection to connect to the terminals on both sides. And hopefully that will help alleviate, maybe not completely get rid of, but alleviate some electrical issues in this. Lately we've noticed that the gauges basically will both fall down to the bottom when starting the truck. And I also ran a battery tester on this, and it said the state of health was down to about 49–50%. So the battery itself is starting to get weak. So I'm going to get the terminals off, get the battery out, get the tray out, and then I've seen some junk underneath the battery that we're going to clean out. I'm going to see if I can use the original tray on that one, but from what I can see, you cannot. So if I can't, no big deal. So we'll get this removed, come back and show you the mess. So here is a comparison of the old and the new battery. So you can see how much narrower and smaller this new battery is. It's considerably bigger. And so what I've done to make it fit is I just got a couple of foam strips here just to give it, I got a piece here, and 2 here. Just to give it some, you know, so it's not, the battery's not sitting completely on steel. I also took this little catch for the battery I bent that back a bit. On this side over here, there was a bit of a lip on this right here. So I just shaved that down because I found that it just kicked the battery up on this side and I didn't feel like having pressure on that as like a pressure point. And then the other thing that I did is this is the tie down, or like the part that goes there and holds the battery. I may need to take a little bit more, but I took a razor blade and just ran it down here a couple of times just to make this a little thinner. And I'll show you why. So if we put the battery in, light. So that part goes down here on this post and it catches the side of this battery. If you don't shave it down just a little bit, then what will happen is it kind of puts a bit of pressure on the inside of this battery. So if you just trim it down on this edge right there a little bit, then it'll allow it to fit down in this groove and on that post, and then it will allow that to sit so that you can tighten it down. So I'm gonna get the battery tightened down, and then we're gonna look at these wires and figure out where we need to run them, and then we'll start looking at how we're gonna crimp them. All right, so battery installed, not going nowhere. Temporarily put one of just the negatives just to make sure everything's gonna fit. Cinched down good, it did. Took the old two terminals off. You can see how gross all these wires are and why I really despise these types. I know they work in a pinch, but they're as good as junk. The other thing I'm gonna do, you can see how gross and kind of crusty this is. These are your terminals from the battery to give power to the junction block, this guy. So I'm going to do the nuts. I'm going to clean up all those terminals, get them all cleaned up. And I think if I come over to my shelf, I know I had at some point, yep, got some dielectric grease. So what I'll do is get these all cleaned up, get them all nice and shiny, clean them up, put the nuts back on there, throw a little bit of grease in there just to keep those from getting any more gross. The other sides down there, they look pretty bad. I thought about replacing these terminals, but I like if I can find some later, find some 90-degree ones, and maybe I'll replace those. But for now, just gonna clean that up. So basically, where I'm at now is I need to figure out what terminal, either from that box or another one that I have, that will fit both of these wires that I can crimp down good and tight. And same thing for the negative, find which terminal will work for these two. I do have some 10 gauge wire, so I will probably remake this cable, this ground strap, and then like I said, I'm going to connect it over there to the body, to the negative post, try and give that guy down there a good fighting chance. So yeah, I'm gonna just keep plugging along here, keep moving along. Battery fits good, lots of clearance, no issues there. I don't know if a Group 65, I never even thought about this, but this Group 65 has the positive towards the fender. On the old battery, oh, I guess it was the same, maybe? I don't know. Just for continuity, most of the time I find negative is towards the fender so that the ground has a short to go, but it doesn't matter. The wires are plenty long to fit, so I don't care. So I'll get that fixed, get the terminals figured out and going, crimp them, get this finished off, and then the battery will be just about done for this. Well, my crimper was being a bit of a pain in my butt. I was trying to find the right setting. Eventually I found it, but it was starting to really drive me nuts. So got it done. So there's the new terminal on, shrink tubed, good to go. So then we'll just be basically attaching that through that like that, and that will be this side done. Then I got to do the same for the negative side. Once that's done, they'll get connected. Once they're connected, everything will be good to go. So going to finish up on the negative and getting this positive one done. Once they're connected and everything's all back in the battery, I'll show you the final product. And just like that, Group 65 battery, new terminals, ground is off over in there. Everything's good. I did scare myself because I didn't hook up the body ground, and when I went to put the key on or did anything in the truck, there was no power, and I was like, what happened? But as soon as I connected that ground, everything was fine. So nothing too crazy, pretty simple job. Glad to have the extra cold cranking amps, because in the winters that will definitely help. I know it's only like 150 over what was in it, but 150 plus 150 is better than minus 150. So bigger battery, more cold cranking amps, better terminals, better connections. So hopefully this may alleviate some of the weird grumblings in this if it does. If not, well, at least we got a bit of an upgrade in there for the electrical system. So I hope maybe you found that you may want to do this yourself. Not too hard of a job. Don't necessarily need the crimpers that I use. I don't know if I still have it or not. No, I don't see it. You can go to your hardware stores, you know, Harbor Freight, wherever your whatever store you guys got, and you can just get one of those crimpers that you just whack with a hammer to do these terminals. So you can do it that way too. But that's it for today. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.